is Frenz Costales, and this afternoon we're going to talk about my personal computer. This afternoon we are tasked to talk about what device do we use for our online classes. Well, which in my case is my own personal computer. Well, the first thing you have to know about my personal computer is that it is still a work in progress. Yes, I am still building my computer. I bought it for a pretty cheap price for about 500 and put some money on it, did some very interesting upgrades with my CPU, and still I'm not done with it and I'm still trying to upgrade some parts. So to talk about the speculations of my computer, I'm going to talk about few parts that I have replaced and some that I know that is in my computer or in my CPU. First off, we're going to talk about my graphics card. It is a NVIDIA GF 9500 GT. It's an old model of, it's a DDR2, not quite capable of doing it stuff, but well, it does the job for me. So to summarize what I have, recently I changed its motherboard and a processor. So it was a first gen i3 processor with a pretty much a wasted motherboard, and then I had to replace it and buy myself a new motherboard. And doing so, I also upgraded the chip or the processor into a third gen i3. It's pretty cheap, that's why I stuck with i3, because those processors are pretty much good on doing what they do best. And yeah, it's an entry level for my type of things or the type of stuff that I usually do. So of course my CPU is not the only thing that I have in my computer. Now let's talk about some other hardwares that I have for my computer. So since I disconnected my CPU from my computer, now let's talk about what other hardwares do I have. First off is this Dell 7-inch LCD monitor, my Zeus GTX 500 mouse, gaming mouse and keyboard, my new webcam which came in just last Saturday or last week Saturday, and this small little lamp right here. Yes, it's still a hardware because whenever I'm in a online class, sometimes it's not that bright up here, so I have to use my lamp. So I include it as my hardware. And since I have a port here, yet I still use this small secure VGA. Yes, it's a like power supply where I connect my CPU and it connects to our port over there, which it isn't connected right now because my CPU is disconnected from my computer. So since we're talking about my personal computer, let's go and check out what specs or what I have in my CPU. First off is my video card. It is a NVIDIA 9500 GT. It's a little bit short on capacity since it's just a 512 video card, and it's a DDR2. It's not really capable of doing some like hardcore gaming, but for me it still does its job. But soon I'm planning on replacing this one with at least a DDR3 or DDR5 video cards, because that's what my new processor and new motherboard can handle. And I'm pretty stoked finding out that it still works with my old DDR2 video card. Well, talking about my CPU, there's nothing special with it yet since it only has a i3 3rd gen processor and a 1155 2nd gen motherboard. So it's still, as I said earlier, it's still a work in progress. But we're going to talk about more about that RAM this afternoon. So now let's head to our RAM cards, which is this ones. these ones are the new ones that I ordered last week from Shopee. I have a set of 2 GB DDR3 1333 megahertz RAM cards still in my CPU, and since I got them yesterday and I'm doing a vlog, let's replace them as well this day. So let's go right to our new RAM cards. So these are Crucial DDR3 1333 megahertz 4 GB RAM cards. So combined with this other one, they make up to 8 GB of RAM. So when you are installing your brand new RAMs, take a second to at least clean the yellow pins, because sometimes dirt or some other residues are still there. So I recommend that you use a pencil eraser when you are cleaning your RAMs, because sometimes if you have a bad RAM pins or these yellow things right here, right down below your RAM, sometimes when they are covered with dusts, or if they have particles that are unwanted for our RAMs, they tend to not work sometimes. So it's important that you clean your RAM cards as well. So let me just erase this right here, and then after that, at least blow them, remove these other particles. Now let me just put them right here. Let's go to the other one. So same procedure, just erase some bits and parts of those yellow pins down below here. Here they are. Well, first of all, when you're working with your CPU, you have to make sure that it isn't connected into any sort of energy source or power source, because it's dangerous, or you might get grounded or electrocuted by electricity, of course. Now let's head into those 2 little RAM chips that I'm going to replace this evening. Well, first of all, when you're trying to replace your parts, you have to remove those things that are in the way, which in my case, this pretty huge video card that I have. So in removing your RAM cards, there are these 2 locks up here, those 2 white things. They are the locks that keeps the RAM card intact to your motherboard. And there's also 2 over there. I don't know if you can see it very clearly. There they are. So in total there is 4. Well, it depends on how much port do you have. Some other motherboards can handle sometimes even 3 RAM those input over there. So remove those old RAMs. This can still be used when you're going to have another CPU. So let's just put them right here. What's most important here is those yellow pins that it has, these RAMs. Those are pretty much very freaking fragile. Yep, I had a case once before where I messed up my RAM, and so I have to wait for a few weeks to have a new RAM there. So now let me input these new ones. But before we do that, take a quick look into your input shaft. When you are replacing a part, especially these types of stuff where you can just put something inside and then lock it, like these RAMs, take time to blow this off. Sometimes the old parts have dust or particles inside it, which will cause it to be damaged or something. So when you're replacing a part, make sure that it's clean. So let me blow this for a second. Also, the input shaft for this video card, since it's open over here. Let me blow it as well. Just make sure there's no dust or any other particles that are blocking the way. Now, out with the old ones and in with the new ones. Let's now insert them into our CPU or our motherboards. Let's go. So, of course, after the procedures that I was instructed to do, now we're going to input these RAM chips. So there are designated points. You see this hole right there in the middle? That's where it's indicated on where the RAM cards are going to be facing. So in my case, it's going to face the other way around. So just make sure that it is in the proper socket. There you go. It's inside, but I haven't locked it yet, so there you go. When you hear that sound, you know it's inside. Just give it a few hinge. Now with the other one, I recommend you to put those two RAM cards, if you're putting two, of course. Put them first before you lock it. So here we go. Now inserting the other RAM card. A bit tricky sometimes. There you go. Now they're inside. Now just give it a hinge. And now, when you are locking your RAM slots, you would hear a flinch. That's when you know that it's locked. There you go. It's locked. 2. Then here, 3, and then over here, 4. There you go. Now, let's see if my computer reads my new RAM cards. So that is all for today. That is my vlogging video about my personal computer. And if you do like my content, please do like, share, and subscribe.
Fire spreading all around my room. My world's so bright, it's hard to breathe, but that's alright. Hush.